My name is Elisa. When I was only 17, my parents sent me far away from the tiny village where I was born to the big, unfamiliar city of Manchester. But unlike the stories people tell of young girls leaving home to go to college or to begin a promising job, my journey was nothing like that. I was not sent to study. I was not sent to work in an office. And I was not sent to build some shining future for myself. Instead, I was sent to a hotel, not as a visitor, not as an employee, not as a trainee, but as a girl to be used. A girl for hire. My father would often repeat to me that we were poor, that nothing in life mattered except money. My mother never contradicted him. She remained quiet, eyes down, her silence like another form of approval. When I begged them to let me go to school, they scoffed at the idea. "School?" my father said. "Education doesn't put food on the table. You will help us earn." I never fully understood what he meant until the night I first stepped into that hotel lobby. The manager was there, waiting. A man in his middle years with slicked back hair and a greedy smile that made my stomach turn. He welcomed me the way one welcomes a package that has just been delivered. My parents handed me over to him as casually as if I were a bag of old clothes. And when they left, I stood there in that strange hallway and realized the truth that cracked my world open. They had sold me. The hotel room at first glance looked like any ordinary room. White sheets neatly tucked into the bed, dim lights that pretended to be cozy, a small vase of flowers on the table, a staged normality. But behind this facade hid a dark purpose. The first man came in carrying cash in one hand and hunger in his eyes. I was terrified. I whispered, begged even, "Please, I don't want this. I'm only 17. He didn't care. For him, I wasn't a human being at all. I was an object, a purchase, a disposable thrill. That night my body was used, my soul cracked open. I cried silently into the pillow until my tears ran out, wondering how the people who brought me into this world could throw me away so easily. Days blurred into nights, nights into an endless cycle of pain and humiliation. Men kept coming, 5, sometimes 6 in one day. Old men, young men, men in expensive suits, men with rough hands. Different faces, but always the same eyes and the same greed. They never asked my name. They never cared whether I was okay. They only wanted my body. And when they were done, they left money on the bedside table as though I were a toy they had rented. The manager would sweep in after, take the bulk of the money, and send a small portion to my parents each month. When I called home, my father would proudly say, "You're doing well, Zara. You're supporting us. Keep it up." Those words cut me more deeply than any bruise. To the outside world, the hotel appeared respectable. Families checked in for vacations. Businessmen held meetings in the conference rooms. Couples celebrated anniversaries. But behind the locked doors, girls like me lived in a nightmare we couldn't escape. We trained ourselves to smile when we wanted to cry. We practiced laughing when we wanted to scream. Saying no was never an option. There were other girls too. Some had been lured with false promises of legitimate jobs. Others had been kidnapped. And some, like me, were betrayed by their own families. At night, when the hallways were empty and the customers gone, we whispered our sorrows to each other. The hardest part was not even the physical pain. It was the emptiness. No one loved us. No one cared. We were not wives, not daughters, not girlfriends. We were bodies for rent. Often I would wonder, did any of those men ever stop to think about what they were doing? Did they realize they were destroying a living, breathing person for a moment's pleasure? But I learned quickly that they didn't care. In this place, girls were not people. We were business. Sometimes I tried to imagine love. Real love. Marriage. A life where someone might see me as a whole person instead of an object. But each time another man touched me without care or respect, that dream faded further. Love for girls like me was a fairy tale written in a language we couldn't read. Reality was harsh, dark, and endless. Yet something inside me began to grow. It wasn't hope, not yet. It was anger. Anger at my parents for selling me. Anger at the men for using me. Anger at a world that pretended to be modern and civilized, yet allowed girls like me to suffer in silence. That anger became the thin thread I clung to, the ember that kept me alive. It whispered to me in the dark, "One day you will speak. One day your story will not be hidden." So night after night I wiped my tears, stood up from the bed, and faced another round of strangers. The nights kept passing, but my soul refused to surrender completely. Every time a man left the room, I would lie there broken, wondering whether there was any end to this misery. I had stopped hoping for a rescuer. My parents had abandoned me. The hotel manager controlled every move I made. The men only wanted my body. It felt as if the whole world had turned its back on me. And yet, deep down, a small spark of strength remained. One night, after a particularly cruel customer left me bruised, I sat near the window and stared at the city lights of Manchester. I thought of the people out there, some living ordinary lives, studying, working, laughing, making plans. And I asked myself, why am I the one trapped here? That question burned inside me. Slowly, painfully, I came to a realization. I was not guilty. I was the victim. The guilt belonged to my parents who had traded me for money. The guilt belonged to the men who bought me for their dirty pleasure. The guilt belonged to the society that stayed silent. For the first time in months, I cried not from surrender, but from defiance. My tears were no longer a sign of weakness. They were a sign I was still alive. Even after that realization, the routine continued. Men still came. Some were violent, some pretended kindness, but I could see through their lies now. One man even said, "You're beautiful. I can love you forever." I stared at him and asked, "Is love something you buy by the hour? Does love end when you leave the room?" He had no answer. And in that silence, I felt a flicker of power return to me. I wasn't the only one. There was Ronnie from Bangladesh, Sophia from Romania, Meena from Pakistan. Each girl carried her own tragedy. At night, when the customers were gone, we would sit together in the corridor, whispering our pain. Sometimes we hugged each other and cried quietly because loud crying was forbidden. Looking at them, I realized this was bigger than me. This was the story of thousands of girls whose lives had been stolen for money and lust. And still, every month, the hotel manager sent money to my parents, and every month my father would call me, proud of what he thought I was doing. Proud of what? That their daughter was being used by strangers? That I had been stripped of dignity and hope? That's when I finally understood a hard truth. Parents are supposed to protect their children, but sometimes they become the first to destroy them. And then there were the men. Doctors, engineers, drivers, students, different professions, same desire. They never asked my name. They never cared about my tears. For them, I was only a body. But I wanted to tell them, every time you use a girl like me, remember she is someone's daughter. She once had dreams. She once wanted love, not lust. By buying her body, you are not only destroying her life, you are eroding your own humanity. After months of darkness, I made a decision. If my life had been ruined, at least my story would not be wasted. I would share it. I would let the world know what really happens behind hotel doors. Because silence protects the guilty, while truth protects the innocent. So today, if you're listening, I have a message. To parents, never sacrifice your daughters for money. Education is true wealth, not exploitation. Your greed may buy you a few comforts, but it will leave your child with a lifetime of pain. To men, stop treating women as objects. Stop going to hotels searching for bodies. Real love is not bought. It is built with respect and commitment. Treat women with dignity if you want dignity for yourself. And to society, speak up. Don't look away. Every girl deserves dignity, safety, and a chance to dream. My body may have been used, but my soul still speaks. Through my voice, I want every girl to know, you are not guilty. You are not an object. You are valuable. Protect yourself, love yourself, and never let anyone take away your dignity. This is my dark life story, and I pray no other girl has to live it. Subscribe to Behind Closed Doors for more stories. Thank you.